الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. My name is Sophia, I'm your host. The aim of Let the Quran Speak is to help you gain deeper insights into Muslims and Islam, as it is practiced here and in other parts of the world. In this episode, putting fun into Eid. Many Muslims have immigrated from places in which Eid is a grand communal affair. What can we do to make our Eid celebrations here both meaningful and entertaining? We'll be exploring this topic soon, but first, bucket lists and life plans. In modern times, people shy away from discussing or thinking about death. Bucket lists are one way for people to think about death, but it's done in a way that celebrates life. Death is considered an unavoidable, an absolute end. Should Muslims make bucket lists? How should we think about and prepare for death? With me today, Brother Shabir Ali, President of the Islamic Information Center. So, Brother Shabir, let's talk about bucket lists. The discussion today was inspired by an article in Science Daily. An individual called Dr. Albert Hampshire from the University of Kansas. He's a historian, and he's written a lot about death and also, I guess, about bucket lists. So, what are your thoughts on his ideas about death? What he says is that people tend to shy away from death in modern times, but bucket lists are one way for people to think about death.
Yeah, so in modern times, because we have shied away so much from religion, we do not have the broader perspective within which to place the fact of death. And so death must appear to people like a kind of existential black hole. It's kind of like a tunnel we go through, and we don't know what's on the other end. Believers generally have the idea of meeting with God or going to heaven, enjoying a life of bliss after death. And of course,
Muslims often say the life hereafter, suggesting that there's a whole other life on the other side.
Exactly, and for Muslims, that is the real life. This life is only a preparatory phase, a testing ground to qualify for greater bliss with God in the life hereafter. And of course, there is the other possibility of a scary future in case people do wrong things here and they have to reap the rewards of their evil deeds, the just deserts, we might say, of their evil deeds. So at least there is a broader perspective. There is a scope within which to place death as just one event within a broader future. But if one does not have this faith perspective, then what does one expect after death? Somebody should write a book, What to Expect When You're Not Expecting. So you're not expecting anything to be there, but there could very well be something. And that could be scary for people, not knowing exactly what death entails and what will happen on the other side. So people prefer not to talk about death because what are you going to talk about?
They don't know what's
you
gonna
don't
come
know
next,
what
yeah.
is there. And in any case, for them, this one life seems to be the only one to live and to enjoy. And to speak about death is like taboo. You can't talk about ending this life. And people may be afraid that by speaking about death, they may actually jinx themselves and die because they're so focused on death. But for believers, it's not an issue at all. In fact, we are encouraged to think about death and think about the fact that this life is only temporary. The life hereafter is everlasting. And we must constantly think about what it means to live this life. And that obviously entails preparing for the life hereafter. So we should keep both in view. We definitely want to live and enjoy this life to its fullest, and at the same time we should use this life for the purpose of preparing for the ultimate enjoyment in the life hereafter.
Now, what do you think about the concept of bucket lists? I mean, the whole idea became popularized by a movie, but the idea is that you make a sort of plan or you set goals for yourself, what you want to achieve before you die. What do you think of that idea?
In common parlance, people refer to death as kicking the bucket. I don't know how that came to be, kicking the bucket. But in any case, the movie Bucket List popularized the term in the year 2008 when it was released, and it became a box office hit. Some people latched onto the idea that you can have a list of things to do before you die. And will you be able to fulfill that list? It's good for people to think about what they really want to accomplish in life before they die. And people want to accomplish a wide variety of things. I saw on one list that somebody wants to visit a chocolate factory. So it could be something as simple as that, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's just a desire, some hope you have. Obviously, you can have some trivial sorts of desires, and you can have some very more important and significant life goals. It is good to write these goals down, because then they become very concrete. There's something that you're committed to, not just a simply vague idea in your mind. It's good to tell your friends about it. Of course, friends who will be sympathetic to you, because not everybody is sympathetic. Some people will laugh at your ideas and talk you out of your ideas and trivialize very important goals that you have. But,
so you think that Muslims should also participate in making bucket lists as well?
Yes, this is important, and Muslims do in fact make bucket lists.
What do you think should be on a Muslim's bucket list? I mean, what would be different from just the average person making a bucket list? What would be different for a Muslim?
What would be specific and very unique to a Muslim bucket list would be the accomplishment of some of the important obligations in Islam. For example, praying 5 times a day. So a Muslim may say, okay, I'm not praying 5 times a day now, but eventually before I die, I want to get to the stage where I am doing all of the 5 prayers. So I'll keep gradually adding the prayers. I'm doing 1 now, 2 later, 3, 4, eventually 5. And that would be my regular routine, my habit. I'm not fasting now, but eventually before I die, I want to fast the whole month of Ramadan. I haven't made the Hajj, but the pilgrimage to Mecca. And this is very common, because many people are doing all of the other things, but they haven't
put that off.
Yeah, they haven't done that Hajj yet, and that's the ultimate journey. Some people, in fact, typically have left that as one of the last things in life, and this could be because in many societies in the past, people could not afford to make that journey except with one's life savings. So eventually, one would do that as one of the last things, with one's last dollar. But also, there is a great promise of forgiveness of sins, as if though one is turning a new slate, one is becoming newborn here in terms of the purity of one's soul. So one wants to make that one of the last things one does. One goes to the Hajj and comes back pure, and then dies and meets God in that state. But we do encourage people to make that life transforming journey very early in life, as early as you can. And we pray that God will give you another opportunity to do it again in the future, perhaps in your old age. But if you do it early, you make that life-transforming journey, and then that will be for the betterment of your life for forevermore, in this life and the life hereafter. But this
so a Muslim's bucket list would include things like getting closer to God, how to improve your relationship with God, but also helping the community, that sort of thing as well?
Yes, all of these obviously would come within a Muslim bucket list. I saw on one list a Muslim woman wrote, getting to know my neighbors, because in knowing one's neighbors and helping one's neighbors is emphasized in the Islamic tradition and in the Quran. So naturally, a Muslim would want to accomplish all of these things.
All right, thank you for that, Brother Shabir.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break. When we return, putting fun into Eid.